What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show. So, it's been a few days since we talked, and I have to say, there has been a lot of stuff that has happened this week. I think the last we spoke was on Wednesday, and we were talking about the second IRS whistleblower, although then he had not come out yet as far as his identity. We didn't know who it was. But since then, he's come out and did an interview with ABC or NBC, one of those Pravda left-wing outlets. So that was the last thing we talked about. And the Anheuser-Busch boycott was still going pretty strong. I think we talked about that a little bit. Well, the boycott's still going strong. And Anheuser-Busch is to a point now to where they're begging their customers to come back and start buying their products again. Teaming up with Harley-Davidson and really just trying to recover this. And honestly, folks, I don't think it's going to work. Anheuser-Busch is finished. Anheuser-Busch is finished. I said this the moment that I seen it kind of starting to take off. I knew that it was done. I knew Anheuser-Busch was finished. In fact, you can go back a few episodes ago and I say that. I say Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light will never recover from this, ever. And I don't really know why. I can't really pinpoint it, but I think definitely it being kind of originated organically where people were just fed up. I mean, Bud Light, Anheuser-Busch came around the corner and just got bushwhacked by this boycott. I mean, it was just the wrong time, man. Wrong place at the wrong time. And unfortunately, it was Anheuser-Busch where people just had it. People had enough. And it could have been any product, I think, at that time that would have got boycotted. But the thing is with Anheuser-Busch is they needed the drinkers more than the drinkers needed them. It's an easy thing to boycott because there's just so much competition out there. There's so much other beer to drink. It's easy to tell a waitress, yeah, what do you have on the menu? We got this, this, and this. And they're like, okay, well, anything but Bud Light. And then boom, they got like 15 other choices. So that's one aspect of it. The second aspect is I think it originated organically, which means there was really no push behind this. I mean, the moment that I seen Anheuser-Busch and Budweiser come out with this Dylan Mulvaney commercial, I said, that's it. I said to myself, the first time I seen it, I said to myself, I'll never buy another Anheuser-Busch product again. Even though I didn't realize that Anheuser-Busch had so many different products out there. And in fact, I think a lot of people didn't because they were making TikTok videos of, throwing out a Bud Light can and then replacing it with, another beer that Anheuser-Busch also owns. So it took a while. The details of the boycott had to get ironed out for people to really take effect, for it to be effective. But man, oh man, was it effective. And like I said, Anheuser-Busch is finished. They are down in sales and revenue tremendously. And I don't think they're ever going to recover. They're down billions of dollars, and they're never going to recover from this. Mark my words, ladies and gentlemen, it's May 27th, Anheuser-Busch will never, ever recover from this boycott. And in fact, I think they're probably going to have to completely rebrand themselves. It's the only way that they're going to get past this. I thought usually boycotts are quick, especially people on the right with, Republicans, conservatives. They're quick 1 week and it's back to business. And you even had expert marketers say that exact thing. Say, oh, well, usually boycotts, especially the people on the left or especially people on the right, it's kind of in a couple weeks, Anheuser-Busch will be back to normal. And no, 2 weeks went by, 3 weeks went by, and now a month has gone by. And man, they got wrecked. Like I said, they came around the corner and got absolutely bushwhacked. Well, now Target is in the hot seat, folks. Target is down $9 billion in just 1 week from a boycott, a recently established boycott from Republicans and conservatives and everybody on the right, and mainly, get this, mainly mothers. Yep. So there was a recent questionnaire or a survey done where the main aspect of this boycott is being ensued by mothers. So how about that? Who would have known? Man, the last thing you want to mess with is a mother's child. I think they made a big mistake here. Huge, huge mistake. And in fact, they know they made a mistake because shortly after this hit the airwaves, as far as TikTok and social media in general, Target immediately released a statement saying they're removing the items from the store and putting them in the back of the store. And I think in the statement, it actually says they did not want to have the same fate as Bud Light. And I was like, whoa, dude, this is crazy. For the first time in my life, I actually seen a successful boycott on the right. Now, I was a Democrat for most of my life, 16, from the time I was, young, since the time I was 15. Yes, I was in the politics at 15. It was kind of weird. I definitely was the oddball in the group, but from 15 all the way to, I would say, my 30s, maybe 29, I was a Democrat, and I never seen the right have a successful boycott. The left, the Democrats, we were boycott masters. We mastered the boycott and really, really successful at it. Well, now it seems as if the right has become pretty successful in learning the leftists' tactics, and we are starting to see that play out right now with Bud Light, and now that sent such a strong message that you have other corporations like Target scared to fall fate to the Bud Light treatment. And honestly, folks, I think Target deserves the Bud Light treatment. I say, people on the right, conservatives, Republicans, you should destroy Target, metaphorically speaking. I have to say that because, the people listening will have a conniption fit and say I encouraged violence, go out and destroy Target. No, hypothetically, Target should be destroyed for what they did as far as pushing this. And because here's the thing, the way that the Democrats work is they'll push something out, and then if it gets a lot of backlash, they'll just pull it back in and then try something else. And so a perfect recent example of this is the Ministry of Truth. I think that's what it was called. The Ministry of Truth was actually in George Orwell's 1984, but that's essentially what it was. It was the Ministry of Truth. It was the misinformation and disinformation campaign or an initiative that was put forth by the Biden administration. Well, as soon as they released that initiative, people were like, whoa, dude, no way. This is insane. And it is entirely way too fascist. It hit hard. It definitely hit home on the left and the right. However, that is not what we're going to talk about today. I wanted today's episode to be specifically about this Target boycott. Now, I got an article here from the New York Post that Target has lost $9 billion in 1 week following the transgender clothesline release. So there was a clothesline designer that partnered with Target to release this clothesline for Pride Month or whatever it is. However, it wasn't like rainbows and fairies and LGBTQ clothes. It was actually transgender onesies and bathing suits with tuck pockets for kids. So that is what the problem was. That's what started it all. And I feel like there needs to be, this is what I've been noticing. A lot of times through these situations, I'll kind of sit back like a fly on the wall and just observe and see what the conversation is and follow both sides. The key to situations like this is you have to read. You have to read both sides, even if it's the side you disagree with. You have to know both sides of the story. You have to know the information. You have to inform yourself on both ends. And that's essentially what I do in these situations. And that is why I didn't talk really much about it when it first came out. But now I kind of have a good grip of what's going on. And one thing that I've noticed is that the message is being lost in translation here. In the fog of war, the message can be lost. And I think that's what I'm witnessing right now. And it should incentivize Republicans and conservatives. Listen to me. Republicans and conservatives, you need to make sure you stay on message. Do not turn this into a conservative Republican against the LGBTQIA plus community, because that is what they're trying to do. They are trying to change this so that they could do what they do best, and that is divide and conquer. What the message needs to be is conservatives and Republicans are against transgenders targeting children. And that, ladies and gentlemen, has been lost in all of this from what I've been seeing the last couple days throughout this entire ordeal. Because I was watching The View, not that I was watching it because that's what I do on my spare time. I had to get audio for you guys, and we're going to play that audio here in a little bit. And in the audio, you will notice the one thing that was not mentioned out of the entire conversation on that show about this particular situation was the transgenders and the clothesline that's being boycotted targeting the children. It's almost like they completely ignored everything that the Republicans and the conservatives are upset about. And they're upset about the transgender community, this transgenderism ideology, whatever it is, targeting children. Leave the kids alone. Leave the kids out of it. Okay? And that is the message. That is the boycott. That is what people are pissed off about. That is what the Republicans and conservatives are trying to stop. The Republicans and conservatives, the right, we're just going to say the right from here on out. The right is not upset with the LGBTQ community. They are upset with the transgenders targeting kids. Okay, the LGBTQ community has been around forever. We've already had this battle over and over and over again, and we are coexisting right now. And we've been coexisting for years. So, personally, I think the LGBTQ community needs to get rid of the T. Yes, I think they need to get rid of the T in their community because transgenderism does not belong in the community with the lesbians and the bisexuals and the gays and the queers. It just doesn't. Okay, it's a completely different thing. And in fact, I would probably argue that the transgenders hijacked the LGBTQ community and now has essentially turned it against itself. And that's exactly what I'm seeing. So there's two things I'm seeing. I'm seeing the beginnings of the LGBTQ community turning on itself and devouring one another, because that's what revolutionaries do. And I'm also seeing the message of the whole thing in general. Like, the whole reason why this started was because the right does not want kids involved in this madness. Okay? The right does not want grown men twerking and shaking their junk on stage for kids. The right does not want kids up on stage twerking and shaking their junk for adults, for men. Okay, we are reaching really weird levels here, folks. We are reaching the event horizon when it comes to this transgenderism ideology. And the last thing you want to do is come between a mother and her kids. Because let me tell you something. A perfect example of that is Youngkin in Virginia. Or is it West Virginia? I can't remember, one of the Virginias. And when they started this stuff in the schools with the bathrooms and the kid in the skirt that was going in the girl's bathroom and ended up raping a young girl, and then the school trying to cover it up, that, ladies and gentlemen, pissed a lot of people off. And that's, I believe that's what got Youngkin elected. So this is the same thing. They are coming in between mothers and their children. And I don't even think it's conservative mothers. I think it's mothers from the left and the right. And that's what needs to be the focus. That is where this message is being lost in translation. We need to focus on the LGBTQ community, okay? Not the community, but the transgenders in the community, okay? That faction of the community targeting children. That is unacceptable. That needs to stop. And that is what this boycott needs to be about. It needs to be known, and the message needs to be clear that this boycott has nothing to do with the lesbians and the gays and the queers. Okay? I actually find gay people to be fun. Actually, they're funny. They're fun to hang out with. They're a delight to hang out with, and they have a good outlook on life. Most of them, 99.9% of them, are pleasant people to be around, and I have no problems with them. In fact, I had an uncle. My wife's uncle was gay, and I have a few friends that are gay, and I have no problem with gay people. And I don't know any of my conservative friends that have any problems with gay people. Like I said, we've had this battle before. Okay, with the LGBTQ community. In fact, I think if I'm not mistaken, was it not just LGBTQ at one point? I think it was before, and then the T got added, and then the plus got added, and now it's IA plus, and then it just keeps going on. So the moment the transgender took over and hijacked that community, it started going downhill. And I think that needs to be the message. And in fact, my headliner is going to be the LGBTQ community needs to remove the T, because it is taking over their community and destroying it. And politicians love this, especially the Democrats and people on the right, Republicans too. They love it because it creates division, and that's how they get votes. Do people not realize that every election, a year and a half or 2 years before the election, there's some kind of massive cultural division? Whether in the last 2020 election, it was BLM and the George Floyd and Antifa, and usually it's race wars. Most of the time it's racial, it's division on racial lines, but now they're starting division on the LGBTQ community and the right. And that, folks, needs to stop. That is what they're trying to do. And the message needs to be clear that the right is not boycotting the LGBTQ community. They are boycotting the transgenderism. This ideology that has spread across our country and has infected our culture like a cancer. Okay, with the upticks in young kids being transgender or claiming they're transgender or claiming they have gender dysphoria or whatever it is, and then taking puberty blockers and so on and so forth. This is without a doubt has increased the numbers in kids claiming they're transgender or suffering from gender dysphoria. So I think it's a social contagion put forth by social media. I think it's majorly amplified by social media, just like all the other fads that run through. You guys remember the fidget spinners, right? You guys remember fidget spinners? That thing came in like a wave, and every single kid had a fidget spinner, and then they just went bye-bye just like that. This is kind of the same thing, except it's a little bit deeper than that, because the transgenderism, the community, the trans community has embedded itself into the gay community. And that is why it's going to be difficult. They have essentially attached themselves, the transgender ideology attached itself to the gay community, the LGBTQ community, like a parasite. And it has become like a symbiote, like it is all intertwined like a central nervous system, like roots into the ground in the gay community, essentially. It's going to be difficult. But what I'm starting to see happen is I'm starting to see the LGBTQ community starting to eat themselves. Essentially, there's a lot of infighting going on there, because just how I feel, the gay community feels also. They feel like their community was overtaken by this transgender ideology, and it absolutely was. And so that's one thing that I've noticed in the last week watching this whole situation play out. And with Target losing the $9 billion in a week, it's quite noticeable how they're doing this before the election. And it's quite noticeable how they're turning this into the right being against transgenderism, and they're, how they're turning it from the right's being against transgenderism and messing with the kids to now all of a sudden the right is against all the entire LGBTQ community. And I'm telling you, the LGBT community, the gay community does not like it. So I have an article here. It's a little bit older, but it's accurate. It is touching down on something is what we're talking about right now. It's from Not the Bee, and hat tip to Peter Heck, dated August 15th, 2022. So it's titled, "It's Happening. The LGB Drop the T keeps trending on Twitter as gay activists turn on transgender activists. It was always unsustainable. The only question was how long the LGBT political movement would bask in the glory of its inarguably successful obliteration of traditional societal norms and sexual mores before they took the time to notice." But the hashtag LGB drop the T trending on Twitter multiple times over the course of the last week or two, it seems apparent that at least in certain quarters, the revolutionaries are doing what revolutionaries always do: turn on each other. And so there's a few tweets here, one by Rick Mesthorpe. I know it's weird reading articles from Twitter, but the thing is, folks, you have to realize is Twitter is the public square. And if you really want to get a measure of where our culture is at, you can absolutely go on Twitter and look at what's trending and just read the comments, and you'll have a pretty good idea where it's at. However, I will argue that Twitter is a small faction of people in this country. Now it's growing. More and more people are joining Twitter now than ever before. But it is still a small faction of people compared to, obviously, the rest of the world and America. But it's overwhelmingly, majority Democrat and leftists. But if you want to get a feel for where the culture is, just go on Twitter. Actually, don't go on Twitter. It's awful, folks. It's probably one of, if people would just put Twitter away, like if Twitter were to disappear tomorrow, I honestly think not just Twitter, but all social media. If social media were to disappear tomorrow, like be banned completely tomorrow, you would find that this culture in this country has a lot more in common than what it seems like right now. And not only that, but you would see a lot less fighting, a lot less division, a lot less of everything, because social media has completely warped the minds of the American people. And that is because the speed at which news is delivered to people. And sometimes the news isn't accurate, and you're starting to have a lot of misinformation. And essentially turns into a information warfare is what it is. That is exactly what it is. We are in a war on information. So that's essentially what Twitter is. Twitter is the trenches in this information war. It is the trenches. And folks, I go into the trenches so that I can get a feel for what's going on so that you don't have to. I will tell you now, going on Twitter, it takes some serious mental fortitude, because you start to see some wild stuff. It makes you wonder, like, how can these people be this wrong? And you start to just see like the erosion of society. That's another thing social media shows people, is just the absolute erosion of our society and our culture. And it's not good, folks. It's not good. I think people realize now that social media has done more harm than good. Now, when it first came out with Facebook and MySpace, it was great because you can keep in touch with people that you went to school with. You could keep in touch with family that don't live here anymore or don't live around you anymore. Like, it was great for that aspect, and it still is. I still am friends with people I haven't seen in years, and good friends, like some of my best friends in my entire life. And I can keep in touch with them, and we can still talk because of social media. But on the downside of that is the erosion of our entire country and our culture and our society. So in that saying that the cure can't be worse than the disease, this has certainly turned out to be worse than the disease. So here's a tweet from this guy, Rick Westhorpe, The T hitched a ride a few years back, invited itself for dinner, and is trying to make out that it always lived here. It didn't. Pride marches, protests, and LGBT rights happened without the T. I remember I was there. I also remember the T wasn't. Wow. Hashtag LGB drop the T. Yep, nailed it. That's exactly what I just said. And then this person, Joss, obviously someone who is gay, says, no thanks, I'm gay, the G part, which means I exclusively like men, not women who think they're men. Harsh. Another tweet says, finally, hashtag LGB drop the T, and it's got a picture of two muscular dudes doing the old, looks like the arm wrestle, kind of looks like they're arm wrestling, but one arm says LGB people, and the other arm says straight people. And then where their hands are holding each other, it says men are men, women are women. Wow. This is crazy, folks. This is trending on Twitter. Well, it was back a few months ago. So this is absolutely going to start trending again. I promise you this will. So be prepared for that. This movement has not gone away. I absolutely believe the LGBTQ community will eventually drop the T from their community. They have to, folks. They have to. Because the transgenderism ideology is absolutely taken over that entire community. All right, so we're going to finish on with the article here. I've written on more than one occasion about what far more people than just I have been anticipating for quite some time. Namely, the inevitable clash between gay ideology and transgender theory. Transgenderism relies entirely upon the non-existence of a gender binary, assuming a sliding scale of gender identity that denies there even is such thing as truly male or truly female. Needless to say, there can be no gay men if there is no such thing as a man. There could be no lesbian if there is no such thing as a woman. Yep. Beyond just that, the transgender movement has brought excess cultural baggage that involves the erasure of sex distinctions in athletics, public locker rooms, bathrooms, dressing rooms, the denial of biological realities, coining of pretend pronouns with bizarre-sounding names like Zer, Mix, and Z, and even the attempted normalization of age-inappropriate drag performances for children. None of that has anything to do with the original objectives, intents, and purposes of the lesbian, gay, and even bisexual equality movement. And it seems as if, though, there is a growing and increasingly vocal contingent of those individuals who have had enough. Yep. Wow, man. This guy, I should have just came right out and just read you this article. So, Mary Mayhem says, we didn't sign on for this stuff. We don't want kids groomed. Not wanting men in our spaces or to have sex with certain genitalia does not make us transphobes. We promised it wasn't the slippery slope they feared. You took advantage of our goodwill. It's gone too far. Wow. And then the article continues, that slippery slope admission is an interesting one. In the early days of opposition to the gay rights movement, conservatives warned that once traditional moral guideposts for sexuality were removed on the basis of emotional preferences, they could not later be arbitrarily thrown back down into the ground to deny other claims made upon the same basis. Mary is begrudgingly acknowledging that despite claims to the contrary, the conservative warning has indeed proved accurate. Her embarrassment stems from how far it has gone. Yeah, that's exactly what the right is arguing right now. But and I've been saying this for years, and it's just like every other thing that the leftists do. Okay, not Democrats in general. Democrats, unfortunately, support the progressive movement. Okay, Democrats are naturally progressive. They are the party of progressivism. And the leftists have and always have taken things too far. They always do. Whether it's abortion or transgenderism, whatever it is, the abolishment of religion, climate change, go down the list, folks. Everything they do, they always take it too far. And that is one of the main reasons why pro-Second Amendment groups and citizens do not want them touching their guns. Because they know if you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. And so that is why they don't even let them come close to taking anything or banning anything. And in fact, the bump stocks that Donald Trump banned, that pissed a lot of people off, including myself. I said, you're just parting the ways for these people to come in and justify everything. You know, they can come in and say, well, Donald Trump banned bump stocks. Why not pistol braces? And if you ban pistol braces, why not just ban the assault rifle altogether? Well, it's just, that's how they go. And this is the same thing, folks. They take things too far. We went from abortion being safe, legal, but rare to now it's abortion on demand at any point in time up until 9 months. And some even argue that they want abortions after birth. Here, Democratic Ralph Northam saying just that. Here, check it out.
There was a very contentious committee hearing yesterday when Fairfax County Delegate Kathy Tran made her case for lifting restrictions on third trimester abortions, as well as other restrictions now in place. And she was pressed by a Republican delegate about whether her bill would permit an abortion, even as a woman is essentially dilating, ready to give birth. And she answered that it would permit an abortion at that stage of labor. Do you support her measure and explain her answer?
Yeah, and I wasn't there, Julie, and I certainly can't speak for Delegate Tran, but so in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. So I think this was really blown out of proportion. But again, we want the government not to be involved in these types of decisions. We want the decision to be made by the mothers and their providers. And this is why, Julie, that legislators, most of whom are men, by the way, shouldn't be telling a woman what she should and shouldn't be doing with her body.
And do you think multiple physicians should have to weigh in, as is currently required? She's trying to lift that requirement.
There you go, folks. Once again, Democrat leftist progressives taking things too far. This is what they always do. This is what they've always done. And it's not just this. Now, once again, they're taking this transgenderism ideology, this transgender movement, this non-binary social contagion too far. That is exactly what's happening. So, this is sick. This is sick. Essentially, this guy is saying we would deliver the baby and just let it die if that's what the mother wanted. What about the baby? You know, this is one of those heated topics, man, that just there isn't a black and white answer. There's not a binary answer to these things. But this answer from Governor Ralph Northam from Virginia certainly is taking things way too far. That is infanticide, okay? Straight up. So we went from safe, legal, but rare to now infanticide. So this person's right. They took things too far. This has gone too far, folks. When you start messing with the kids, it's gone too far. Here's one more tweet. I want to share the tweets with you guys because I want you to hear what people are saying. So this person says, lawyer for laws, child age 4, born a female, announces transition with a blue gender reveal cannon at Vancouver Pride Parade with his grandmother by his side. And then it has a picture of this grandma with the rainbow flag draped around her and a little 4-year-old boy, I don't know, shooting a blue cannon to show that he's transgender. Or listen, this is why they say it's taking things too far. The article continues, there is also palpable anger surfacing from the transgender movement's appalling treatment of women and the entire concept of femininity. That was a hard one. I can't even believe I did that. Femininity. So perhaps one of the most obvious examples of this is the silencing of women in athletics, from high school through college, all the way to professional sports, a topic I've attempted to draw attention to on more than one occasion. But it's important to note that the opposition isn't all superficial emotionalism. There's an emerging awareness of what I mentioned above, that trans ideology represents a fundamental threat to the gay identity. Gay denying, indeed, with such an awareness settling in, it's no wonder there is such anger manifesting within the Alphabet Alliance. So you got another tweet here from Jules Wonkett 91. Since hashtag no LGB is trending, I hope the straight alleged allies of LGB people can finally see that T's are abusive, gay denying, homophobic, misogynists, and that us LGB people are taking our community back. This is ours. And it has a bunch of rainbow flag emojis. This is the infighting, folks. This is what I was talking about. Revolutionaries tend to eat their own. And we all knew this was going to happen. I've been saying this for years. Eventually, the gay community is going to remove themselves from the transgenderism community. I knew it was just a matter of time, and it seems like it's happening. The article continues, gay denying, indeed. With such an awareness settling in, it's no wonder there is such anger manifesting within the Alphabet Alliance. I put that already. So R.L. Stern tweeted, pendulum swinging. Nobody wants to deal with the trans movement. It's full of satanic grooming, pro-body mutilation dictators who have destroyed many lives for not playing with their delusions. Damn, man. These people, the gay community, are pissed off. Article continues, it's ironic, isn't it? As traditional conservatives and even outspoken, high-profile Christian preachers publicly muse about potentially acquiescing to the reality-denying pronoun preferences, it's lesbian and gay activists demanding an end to the madness for the sake of our children. And this was put out in August of 22, folks. August of 22. So this little particular situation has been happening for quite some time, and I think it does need to happen. You know, let the transgender community create their own kind of deal. You know, they don't want to do that because they know it will fail. Okay? They know the entire thing is just, for one, it's extremely dangerous. Okay? Especially now that you're involving kids, and eventually it's going to lead to probably, most likely is probably going to lead to pedophilia is essentially what it, I mean, think about some of the things that you're witnessing. You have a faction of people that are trying to normalize young kids dancing, twerking in front of adults on stages. You have a faction of people trying to normalize adult grown men dressing in women's clothing, twerking and dancing on a stage in front of kids for a pastime. And this is celebrated. This being normalized, involving the children into this ideology, into this movement, is going to lead to something bad. It is an extremely slippery slope, and it is, I would probably say, pure evil at this point. And so you have to wonder, is it purposeful? Is it strategic? Is there a reason why they're involving the kids? I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's this cabal of people at the top that are masterminding. You know, I don't think they're moving the chess pieces in like some 4D chess or something like that. I think it's just a movement that was created because I think it probably would have been denounced immediately, okay, as soon as people really, if they had their own community, if they started, they've always kind of had their own community, but I'm saying like with this, what they did was they attached themselves to the gay community like a parasite. And they embedded themselves so deep that now when it comes to this situation and boycotts, the transgenders are trying to shield themselves with the gay community. So they're essentially throwing the gay community out front, the LGB community, putting them out front to use them as a shield so that they can get this so they can further progress this transgender ideology. And so what needs to happen, and looks like is happening, is the LGB community is saying, no, this is your deal. This is you. This is what you want. Then you need to do it yourself. Go out there. And what's happening is it's not normal, folks. It's not going to be accepted. I'm sorry. The transgender can have its own community, but it's not going to be anything like the LGB community. It's not going to be anything like we see now. Okay? It's not. And what I think is going to happen is most likely you're going to have all this start with the sports. So the sports thing is going to go almost immediately. Once you start getting more LGBT community people, the lesbian, gay, bi people out there in support of transgenders kind of creating their own sports division, whether that's trans football or trans baseball or whatever it is that they want to do, trans swimming, they need their own little community. That is what they need. Because watching this, folks, is just, it's awful. And with the feminists, it's like the feminists have to be sitting back and saying, what the hell is happening to our sports? And honestly, I'm surprised there's not more of an uprising from feminists. You got people like Riley Gaines out there trying to make headway in this ordeal, and I'm glad she came out, and I think she's really the start of this movement of kind of abolishing men from competing with women. This is insanity, folks. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You can't have a man beating a woman's ass in a boxing ring. You can't have a man competing against a woman in a swimming pool. And that is the problem, just like this author said. The problem with the LGBTQ community being intertwined with the transgender community is that transgenderism requires that you abolish gender and sex altogether, like as if they don't exist. Where the gay community, men do exist and women do exist, you just happen to be gay. And like I said earlier, gay people are awesome, man. I have no problems with gay people. I have no problems. They're awesome. They're pleasant people to be around. They're funny. They're happy. Hence the name gay. And I always find it fun. They're just a fun. I don't know what it is. It really is kind of weird how just happy they are and fun they are, and they're a joy to be around. We used to have, our neighbor was gay, Joe. If you're listening, Joe, what's up, man? And he was pleasant. He was awesome to be around, man. He was a delight. Just super nice, super kind, super outgoing, happy all the time. Always willing to offer food. And, if he was grilling out, he was a joy to be around. Gay people are a joy to be around. It is incredible how they adopted the word gay, which means happy, because they really are happy people. And I like surrounding myself with happy people. So I have no problem with the gay community, with gay people at all. They're a joy. So, but what the problem is this transgender movement has essentially taken over the LGBTQ community. And just like I said in the beginning, I think the T needs to be removed from the LGBT community, and let them go off and make their own thing. Because what you're going to start seeing now is there's no making sense of this, folks. To accept the transgender ideology, you have to deny reality. You have to deny reality and substitute a reality of your own. Not of your own, of their reality. So you have to deny your reality and substitute it with their reality. And you start running into problems. When you have a Supreme Court justice, the Justice Jackson, the Supreme Court of the United States, when you ask her, can you define a woman? And she says, I'm not a biologist. That's an issue, folks. That is an issue. Okay, you don't have to be a zoologist to know what a dog is. So you are literally denying fundamental truth in order to support a transgender ideology. It's not going to work. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but you understand what I mean. And you're going to start seeing this get worse and worse and worse. Nobody in the world thinks it's okay, and never has thought it was okay, probably since the dawn of man, for a man to hit a woman. Not just hit a woman, but beat their ass in the octagon. We had that happen. I think he crushed her skull or cracked her skull open or something crazy. Nobody in the world thinks a man should be competing with women in swimming or sports or any sport. Like I said, in any sport, men should not be competing with women. There is physical differences between a man and a woman. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the truth. And so, like I said in the beginning, this message is being lost in translation as we're going through this stage in this boycott. Okay? It was Anheuser-Busch, which will never recover, ever. They'll have to completely rebrand themselves in order they'll essentially have to disappear into the shadows of society and then reemerge as a completely different brand if they want to stay in business. They are finished. They're done. They can cut Anheuser-Busch by 75%, and that's probably what they would need to just stay afloat. So they're finished. And then now you have this Target situation. And like I said, it is fundamentally wrong, okay, to be advertising this stuff as if it's normal. They're trying to normalize things that aren't normal. And I'm sorry, folks. I actually seen a article from Pew Research where a majority of Americans, I think like 63%, say that the progress of transgenderism is just moving too fast. It's moving too fast. It's progressing too fast. And it is. And in fact, I think they want to push it fast so that they could just ram it through and normalize it as fast as possible. This is not normal, folks. I'm sorry. The transgender community needs to create their own community. And so that brings me to my next issue, was listening to The View. Man, I don't even know how anybody watches these women on that show. Honestly, if you watch The View, these people that watch The View, they have to have an IQ of a toaster oven to watch these people. There's one Republican on there. She claims she's Republican. I don't really know how conservative she is. I don't know. She claims she's conservative, but I just don't know. She, she's the only one that halfway makes sense. And when you listen to the audio, even she doesn't hit on this issue. She notices a problem with the boycott and the whole movement, but she doesn't notice the problem with the movement. They are reluctant to acknowledge that the right, the Republicans and conservatives, are not against the LGBTQ community. They are against the transgenderism going after kids. I mean, trust me, folks, transgenders have been around for years, decades, forever. I'm sure. Forever, you've had men that wanted to dress like women and women that wanted to dress like men. People started getting upset when you started involving the kids. And it's like they completely miss the fact that people started getting upset when you started involving the kids. And so just like everyone else, this is being missed by the women on The View. So we're going to go ahead and listen to this audio. It's a little long, and I may stop it in between and make some points, but I want you to listen to the whole thing because this is going to get to the root cause. This is going to get to the core of this issue, and I want to be able to bridge this gap. Okay, we have to bridge this gap because to be successful, okay, and this goes for the LGB community too. The LGB community and conservatives need to align here, and we need to not boycott the LGB community, but we need to boycott the transgenderism ideology targeting kids. That is what needs to stop. Not even the transgender ideology. If people want to go be trans, but go do that, in adult time. Just leave the kids out of it. This is what people are upset about. And like I said, conservatives and the LGBT community need to combine forces on this and tackle this problem. They're not going to be able to push the transgender ideology into their own little movement away from the kids, okay, if we do not acknowledge the common problem with this whole thing, if we do not bridge this gap as to why the conservatives and Republicans and people on the right are boycotting Target in the first place. They're not boycotting the LGBT community. They're not boycotting gay people or lesbian people or bisexual people. They are specifically boycotting transgenders, going after the kids. All right, so we're going to go ahead and listen to this. And like I said, I'm going to touch down on a couple opinions. I'm going to stop it probably in between and give you a couple thoughts that I have about it. So here we go.
Target has offered products celebrating Pride Month for over 10 years. And on Friday, some of their southern stores were instructed to put the products in the back of the store. Now, Target said this is about safety because they are getting threats over some of the products. It's just so crazy. But I will say, what starts at the back of the store always comes to the front.
Yep.
Always. Start at the back of the bus, you move up to the front.
Yeah.
But what is the fear? Why are people afraid of a shirt
of a
or
rainbow
flag?
So there's another element to the story.
See, already you could see they're not getting it, folks. They just don't understand what the issue is. Okay, they're already talking about the rainbow flag. This is not the rainbow flag. Okay, the transgenders have their own flag. Okay, this is about that flag. And honestly, the transgenders, the transgender ideology, they need to go in their own area with their own flag and start building their own community away from people's kids. Okay, leave the kids out of it. And so immediately, these women, Whoopi Goldberg in particular, just don't get it. They're completely, and honestly, this comes from just not being informed with the topic. She could read one article and understand what the issue is here. She can understand what the right is upset about. But because these people live in their own bubble and they refuse to study under the right and figure out what the right is talking about, like I always say, they know nothing about people on the right. We know everything about them. And so this shows it right here. Whoopi Goldberg, it would take 5 minutes for you to read into the situation and figure out what the right is upset about. All right, let's continue.
I just hate that this is going on. I want to start by saying I always stand with the LGBTQ plus community. Next month is Pride. Love you guys. You're my family. You're my friends. This designer that they chose, apparently in his own imagery and things he sells on his website, not in Target, had some Satanist imagery and some words that alluded to Satan. So what that then allows is for people to be like, oh, you're highlighting a, LGBTQ plus designer who's also a Satanist. And it plays into this fear that is taking hold of our society.
And what is that fear?
Is he a Satanist or was there some imagery on his web?
Okay, she asked the question, what is that fear? This would have been a perfect time for her to come out. And I wish I was there, folks. I really do. I wish I was there because I would spit this out. This would be the very first thing that I said. The issue is the transgender ideology targeting children. That is the only issue. Nobody has ever had a problem with transgenders. Obviously, you probably have extreme people out there that obviously, the bigots and the zealots and all that, whatever they call them. They always had a problem with transgenders. But the main issue here is the kids. That is an issue, and that is what she should have came out with as soon as she asked her that question. And Whoopi Goldberg could find this out if she would just read. Just read, Whoopi Goldberg. Just read into people you don't agree with, okay? I'm just shocked that people listen to this garbage, man. It is... I get that it's supposed to be entertainment, but they're considered, and they actually have a pretty big platform, and they're just wrong on everything. And they suck people into their idiocy and their reality of just being ignorant. And that phrase goes, ignorance is bliss. And that is exactly what this show is. If you want to be, blissfully ignorant, then you watch The View. So here we go with the rest of the audio.
He used words about Satanism. I don't know.
Because he's denied that he believes in Satan.
But I also heard that was only the artists that were taking off the
manufactured.
website, not the stores.
And that's off the track, isn't it?
But I say this because
it's manufactured.
I think that there is this wrong view by some that the LGBTQ plus community is a hedonistic, amoral community. That's not. You guys are members of my church. You're my friends.
That's
you are
the church.
No, but I mean,
I'm laughing because I'm thinking of all the straight people right now.
Thank you. But I just want to. kind of explain what this controversy is. And I think that it maybe plays into that when there's so many amazing gay designers that they could have highlighted that wouldn't come with this side of the controversy
but
to
the thing
it.
Is, they would have gone after him no matter what.
Well, they probably would have,
because
but
there's this thing going on in the country. This is just part of this war against gays right now.
Yes.
There you go. Again, folks. Again. There is no war against gays. I wish these women would just inform themselves. This stuff drives me nuts. You have a platform where you talk to millions of people. You have the ability, you have the power to shape people's minds and shape people's opinions and in reality to shape culture. And you come out with the dumbest arguments, with being uninformed, with not having any facts, and just coming out with nothing. You're actually counterproductive because you're telling people that this entire situation is about gays when it is not about gays. Okay? It is not. This is what pisses me off. This is why these women need to just read. Look at all sides of the story, even the people you disagree with. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what they fail to do time and time again. All right, here we go with more audio.
Going on, and this is just one little place, and Target did not stand their ground on this.
And it's
they
a made-up controversy.
Only in the South.
For now, and maybe they'll
right
start
now that's
taking,
what we're talking about.
Yeah, but they're already taking books off shelves,
right,
librarians.
but right now
and
we're
teachers.
talking about what Target is doing in the South. I don't want people to.
And there you go again, with taking the books off the shelves. I assume she's referring to Florida and what Ron DeSantis has done with taking these particular books, and other states are doing it too. They're passing laws to where parents can object to a book being available in a school library. Not a library, not a public library, a school library. Some of the most disgusting books, I would say borderline pornography, have no business being in a middle school or elementary school library. That is what's being done. And again, if they would just read into these things, then they would understand. But they purposely want people to think that Ron DeSantis in Florida and these other governors and around the country in red states are banning books so that they can say Republicans ban books. They're book burning and book banning for politics, folks. It's all for politics. But that is not at all what they are doing. They are banning pornography and unacceptable books. Books that even when these parents are taking these books to the school board to read them out loud, they cut their microphones off because it is that detailed, because it is that grotesque. Okay? And they want these books in school libraries. No. Maybe high school, okay. You know, you got a different conversation there. But none of these governors are even banning any books out of high schools. This is all K through like 7th grade or 8th grade or something like that. Okay, it's not high school. So again, with the misinformation. So anybody watching this now thinks that all the Republican governors, that there's books being banned all across the land, and they want them people to think that it has something to do with fascism and communism when they used to do the book burning. Nazism. That's what they want to do. They want to scare people. They want to provoke fear, because invoking fear is how you control people. Okay, this is a common tactic. Even back in every fascist regime, they all stoked fear in order to get control. And in fact, it is the strongest way and the most sure way of gaining control. Perfect example, look at the pandemic we just went through. And I'm so glad, in a sense, I'm glad we went through that ordeal so that people can realize how easy it is to be influenced and how easy it is to be taken over by a tyrannical regime. Because what we witnessed during the pandemic is exactly what happens. Okay, they invoke fear, people are scared, and it's a natural reaction. When people are scared, they listen. They want to be controlled. Not only that, but you combine that with the fearmongers, the people pushing the fear, saying that they're going to keep people safe, then there you go. You have even more control. And so that is why they say these things, I think, folks, is they purposely want people to think that there's mass book banning going on. They purposely want people to think that it's the right against the LGBTQ community. It's the right against gay people, when it's just not true. It's just not. And unfortunately, this is where the LGBT community, the gay community, needs to come out and combine forces and say enough of this stuff, man. Enough. Here we go with some more audio.
Think that it's happening in every store. It's not.
But the thing is, it's such a manufactured controversy, just like a lot of these manufactured culture wars. He has come out and said he is not a Satanist. Just because you may have a little red devil somewhere on a shirt doesn't make you a Satanist. And
okay, so Sunny Hostin, I think that's her name, she's lying. Okay, she is purposely misleading people. This was not a little devil on a shirt or two. Okay, this is, I mean, this guy obviously is not a religious man. Well, let's just say that. So I got an article here from New York Post where one of his designs found on the apparel markers t-shirt and pins has the message, Satan respects pronouns. Okay? Does that sound like just a little devil somewhere on a t-shirt maybe? No. Now you see why people are upset? Now you see why people are boycotting? Last year, Eric wrote on the brand's Instagram page, being called a demon is something I can cope with, and the idea of a trans demon is pretty damn cool. Most of my work focuses on gothic or dark and satanic imagery, juxtaposed with bright colors and LGBT plus positive messages. And there you go. So it's not just a little devil on a little shirt somewhere. And not only that, folks, and it's not just about the clothing. It's the kids' clothing. I'm sure you've seen the TikTok video already where you've had several people going to Target stores and finding this section, the Pride section, and finding these bathing suits with the tuck pockets and finding these onesies that say gay is good or proud to be gay or something like that. It's just the kids' stuff people are upset about. Nobody cares about what adults wear. Okay? Everybody's an adult. They can do their own thing. All right? As long as that thing doesn't involve twerking and dancing in front of kids, and as long as it doesn't involve people's kids, man. People don't like that. You start messing with people's kids, you're going to start having problems. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. All right, let's go. Let's finish up with this, get this out of the way. The show's about, we're kind of getting strapped for time here. All right, here we go.
corporate citizens. We know that boycotts have been very effective. Let's say in North Carolina, where you had the boycott because they had sort of a "don't say gay" type of bill. That was like 7 years ago, and it stopped Major Baseball from being there. And yes, people lost jobs, but they made the point. And I'm very
I'm sorry to keep pausing this, folks, but these women are just so wrong on so many things. There has never in any country at any point in time been a bill that was passed in any state that says you can't say gay. Okay, this is another lie that has been perpetrated by the left and the Democratic Party. Nobody has signed a bill that bans saying the word gay. Okay? Or don't say gay, but they named this, and it's effective. The Democratic Party, one thing I've learned when I was a Democrat, the Democratic Party has mastered the language. They own the language, and they know how to change the language because they know how effective changing language and owning the language can be when it comes to movements and boycotts and everything else. So right out the gate, you have the language being changed from a bill that bans this transgender stuff and this sexualizing kids in elementary schools, grades K through 4 or K through 5 or whatever it was, a bill that was signed by Ron DeSantis. Somebody immediately came out and titled it the "Don't Say Gay" bill. And boom, there you go. So now everybody has this notion in their head, wait a minute, so you can't say the word gay in Florida? And there you go. And not only that, but it's so effective that even media outlets pick it up, and then even people on the right get caught saying it, myself included. So they make it to where the only way to talk about this, to where people know what you're talking about, is by saying we're talking about the "Don't Say Gay" bill. because that they implant it and they mastered it so well that they immediately find the perfect name for something, and then that's the way people remember it. And that's exactly what happened. So then again, Sunny Hostin, these women are just very, very either misinformed and because they don't read or don't know what's going on, which wouldn't surprise me because they live in their own little bubble in their own reality and have nothing to do with the real world, and they're detached from regular America, or they're doing this on purpose to purposely mislead people so that they purposely feed people misinformation to control the minds of people. And that is, look, you see what's happening. You see what's happening. Here we go. Let's finish this up.
Disappointed that a chain like Target couldn't stand their ground and instead put the LGBTQ plus community in the back of the bus. I mean, let's think about it. Like, I just went to Target recently with my daughter and her friend Chris, and they were supposed to just be getting some Starbucks. They came out with bags and bags of beautiful shirts with women with afros, and I was like,
keep in mind that when people are threatening these stores, when they're threatening the stores, they're threatening the people in them. Well, and so that may be one of the reasons that they put it, that may be the reason they acquiesce as well.
Yeah, but my point is that they had, now have a black section highlighting African-American designers, and my kid and her friend bought tons of stuff, and sales have increased significantly.
So what the hell does the black community have anything to do with this? You see what I'm saying, folks? Like, it's just one thing after another, and I pray my listeners, you guys, can see what their motive is. I pray you guys can see their strategy. Okay? I just hope you can, because this is what they do all the time. So now, all of a sudden, this has turned from the right being against transgenders sexualizing children and involving children into their transgender ideology to now it's the right being against the entire LGBTQ community now. And now Sunny Hostin's talking about black people, which, it's just, my God, man, these people need help. They don't need help. They just need informed. They just need to read about what's going on. Read, man. That's all you got to do. Inform yourself.
Yes. If this is a business thinking about the bottom line,
gay people are going to buy stuff too. Here, people.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the Target CEO, Brian Cornell, has said this is a good business decision to be all-encompassing, the LGBT letters, the alphabet, and all of the inclusive. Right. Yeah, the reason they did it in these 3 stores were because the workers were being threatened by people coming in. So they said it was to protect their workers.
And bring security in.
Well, and I'm not saying that's the right thing, but that is a bigger explainer here, is that they were trying to protect their employees who were being completely harassed for the stuff.
So why don't they call the police?
Let me just finish here.
Can I just interject a little bit?
Yes, I'm just saying that my bigger point here is I think this is like moving the goalposts, like a lot of the other things that the far right conservative, not all conservatives, the far right has done. The whole LGBTQ plus a lot of the pushback started in Florida, and my theory on this is, even though this is an all-inclusive umbrella term, the homosexual movement, same-sex marriage, has been going on for decades, and I feel like people have caught up with how that has always been okay. It's fine. The public, the percentages of support on marriage equality have grown.
You're okay with Target capitulating?
No, but my point here is when we start to conflate sexuality and gender, a lot of the issues coming up right now are a misunderstanding and ignorance.
The show is sponsored by BetterHelp.
I don't.
Your watch is interrupting.
Oh my gosh, something answered. You guys, I don't know what's going on here.
But what is your ultimate
my point here is that I was willing to understand. I'm a huge advocate. I get that some people don't understand gender, transgender issues, pronouns, which entered the major conversations about 5 or 6 years ago. People are catching up in understanding that part. And yet what they're doing is when they're having conversations in Florida about we shouldn't be talking about all this sexual stuff before 3rd grade, there's a thoughtful conversation to have there. But what they're doing is they're moving the goalpost on the whole LGBT, the queer community is being punished for parts that should not be part of this conversation.
So you agree Target should not have...
Exactly. This is the first one that makes sense. So she notices that the LGBTQ community is being targeted, needlessly being targeted, but that is because the transgender ideology, the transgender movement has pushed the has used the LGBT community like a shield so that they're not targeted. And so they essentially threw the LGBT community under the bus and to soak up all the crap. And then after this is over and Target continues to sell it or, bans the sale of these clothes or this designer, then the trans movement moves on. So they're using the LGBT community like a shield, okay, like a protective cocoon until to weather the storm. And then when the storm is over, then they come back out and continue on with their progress in sexualizing children and twerking and shaking their junk in front of kids on stages. And then it's going to happen all over again. So it's unfortunate that the LGBT community can't see this. And hopefully, well, obviously they do. But it's unfortunate that they can't combine forces with conservatives to weed this out. And the conservatives, the right wing part of this country would be more than willing to help the LGBT community rid their community that they fought hard for of the transgenders and let them start their own thing. Let them start their own movement. Like I said in the beginning, remove the T from the LGBT community. Here, let's finish this up. There's a couple minutes left.
Done this.
Yeah, because Target should if their employees are in danger.
So
I think they
and
need
not
to
hire the police.
Oh, just get the cops.
Security guards.
That's their
that
job.
would be awesome
last
if
week
they could,
we
but
had-
the fact that they're
Do we know
protecting
if
their
they call the
employees,
cops?
I don't
Do we know that they do it? So we don't have all that information.
Last week
So
we
we
had
don't have the
gay
rest.
That's typical.
Sorry, we had two gay pastors in the audience who had God
They never
Loves
have
Gay
the
shirts.
information.
That is a unifying message that I don't think would have people protesting in stores in the same way. There are some people who are always going to be bigoted, and you're never going to win with those people. But I feel like it could have been avoided becoming something where you're going to have now the left and the right boycotting Target.
If
Well,
they had
I don't
taken
think
Satan
the
thing
right-
off, is that what
Yeah.
you were
Yeah, that's right, folks. She nails it. I can't remember who it was that was, I can't remember who this is. I don't watch I'm not a regular viewer of The View, for obvious reasons. But this woman actually makes sense. She gets it. But the rest of them don't. So, and what can you do? Can you make them understand it? No, they're just going to they just got to read. That's it. Just look into the situation for once in your life. Just inform yourself, Whoopi. For once in your life, inform yourself. What's her name? Joy Behar. Joy Behar. She reminds me of like an old beat up New Yorker that just partied way too hard, man, her whole life. And now she's single and living on the streets or living in a studio apartment, barely making ends meet. That's what she reminds me of. So here, let's finish this off. Whoopi's got a message for us.
And highlight someone who is a controversial designer already.
I'm sorry, I don't know what controversy means. Having been called controversial for most of my career the last 40 years. People decide what's controversial and they point. They say, oh, you got that on your shirt. You don't know what this is, and you've made a decision about it. So I'm all for protecting the folks. I don't know if they called the cops. Maybe they did and they felt this was the right way. I am sick of people moving my desires because their desires are not being met in some way.
Isn't that funny, folks? It's like you can literally reverse the subject and she would be sounding like someone on the right. So the entire country, the entire population of people has to change everything they have to object normal, rational reality and substitute it for a reality that's been created by less than 2% of the population. And so, again, just completely backwards. Like I always say, we are in bizarro world, opposite world, where like every day is like April Fool's Day. And so again, the dividing line is so defined that literally both sides see the completely opposite thing. And that is exactly what you're experiencing. That's exactly what we're witnessing from Whoopi Goldberg right here.
Sick of people telling me I can't go to a drag show I'm sick of people telling me that my friends are different because you don't understand them. I'm sick of it.
Listen, nobody's saying you can't go to a drag show. Again, like this entire topic was about, this entire show we dedicated, it's not about the transgenders. It is about the kids. Leave the kids alone. Leave them out of it. Okay? Unfortunately, you got parents out there, they're living vicariously through their children. Okay, because they want to make a political statement. They use their kids, their 4-year-old kids, to make that political statement. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will never go away. It'll always be there. You'll always have that. These parents, which I would probably say borderline abuse. Okay, if you're doing that to a 4-year-old, okay, just leave the kids alone. Leave everybody else's kids alone. People don't want it in their schools. They don't want it in their school libraries. They don't want it on their TV. They don't want it in their movies. They don't want it at their baseball games. They don't want it at their Target or Walmart. They don't want it on their beer cans. They don't want it anywhere. And that is what the issue is. It's just, man, you cannot coexist with a group of people that object basic reality. Okay? So that was all the audio that I had for that. They went on, they moved on to the next subject, or it went to a commercial or something. But it's just bizarre how Whoopi can come out and say she's tired of people telling her she can't go to a drag show. Nobody's saying you can't go to a drag show. Again, she completely misses it. This entire subject has went completely over her head. And so now from here on out, until she's actually informed herself, which could be months or years down the road when she finally realizes, she is going to think that this entire thing, this boycott, all of this entire situation is about the LGBTQ community. This is about the transgender community. In particular, the transgender community targeting children, targeting kids. That's what people don't like, and I assure you folks, the majority of people don't like it, and it's not going to go well for the transgender community. So, listen, I would love for the LGBT community to combine forces with the conservatives and the right community and kind of push these transgenders out and kind of have them make their own deal. Like I said, make their own sports. Okay, can we all just get back to some basic reality? All right, women are women and men are men. Are we not able to just keep and hold these basic fundamental truths in reality? Can we not have that? I mean, these progressives, they progress things so much that they're actually degressing. So they push things too far that they actually take culture backwards. Okay, again, with the whole race issue. Okay, they are progressing the BLM movement. They're progressing their racism. Okay, they progress so far when it comes to the black and white issue that now they're starting to go backwards. They're starting to bring back segregation. They're with the college, with the all black college dorms. Okay, they're starting to bring back all these conversations. They want people to notice color. Okay, they're completely doing the opposite of what Martin Luther King taught us years and years and years ago. Something that I lived by my entire life, something I was taught in school, and I'm afraid that I was probably the last generation to be taught this. But we grew up, we didn't care what the color of your skin was. We didn't care. If we didn't hang out with you, it was because you were an asshole, not because you were black or brown. But now they literally are bringing racism back in all of our schools. Now, every single thing is about race now. And so they took what was a colorblind society and they turned it into a everything is judged by color society. They did the opposite. Martin Luther King said, judge someone not off the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And so what are the progressives doing? The exact opposite. The Marxists are telling people that you should know. Instead, you should judge people off the color of their skin and not really care about their character. I mean, this is where we're at, folks. We are in bizarro world where every day is April Fool's Day. It's like, hey, did you know we're supposed to judge people off the color of their skin now? Ha ha ha, April Fools. Except they're not saying April Fools. Like we are in crazy land. This is, and listen, it's starting to catch up to people because people overwhelmingly object all of this nonsense. Overwhelmingly. But the thing is, okay, it would be one thing if this was just a culture war. It's an entirely other thing when it's affecting every single nook and cranny, every single aspect of our culture, of our society, of our country, of our economy, everything. It's infected this country like a cancer. And then now we exported this extremely bad idea to other countries. Well, now you see this stuff all over the world. So now the United States is no longer the number one exporter of innovation, or the number one exporter of patriotism, or what it's like to be an American, or what it's like to have a free country, or, we're not the number one exporter of democracy anymore. As of right now, we are the number one exporter of bad ideas. We are sending it all throughout the world. All this transgender stuff, all the BLM stuff, all of this. This climate change religion is all being spread throughout the entire world and is infecting countries like a cancer. And so now we are going backwards, folks. They have progressed this culture to oblivion. And look, this is what people are tired of. This is why boycotting Target is a necessity. And conservatives and Republicans and the LGBT community need to combine forces and crush this and end this once and for all. This boycott must continue and bring them the pain. The best way to hit them is in their wallets, okay? And give it to them good and hard. That is what they need. Give them the Bud Light treatment. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I had for today's show. Thank you guys for tuning in. I wanted to dedicate this entire show to this situation, and we're going to continue to talk about this as this whole boycott situation goes on, because it certainly is. So I just hope I convince some people out there that, the LGBT community and the conservative community need to combine forces and tackle this once and for all, and let the transgenders start their own movement, go out there, start their own community, and start just like the LGBT community did. Okay. They got to start fresh too. They can't hijack the LGBT community and turn it into the LGBT community. Okay. They can't piggyback, and they shouldn't piggyback on the LGBT community. Because transgenders, I mean, come on, man. You've been around for years. You haven't really contributed anything. You haven't really went through any kind of suffering. You haven't fought for anything. So look, maybe you should go out and fight for your own community like the LGBT community did. And that's where I stand on it. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you share the show with your friends and family. You could find the show on any platform, podcast, Spotify. And please follow the show. Can you also leave a comment, leave a review? Let me know what you think. If you liked the show, if you didn't, if there's something that you didn't like, let me know. If you did like the show, let me know. Leave reviews. It really helps the show out. It helps us get up there on the charts, and I would really appreciate it. And you guys can get a hold of me directly at StephenTauriello@gmail.com. That's Stephen with the V, TAURIELLO @gmail.com. I think I'm going to try and come up with another email to make it a little easier for people. I was thinking about just doing the StephenTShow.com or the Stephen T Show @gmail.com. I might do that because my last name is kind of insane to spell. If you're just trying to think of it off the top of your head, I've never had anybody spell my name correctly the first time. In fact, in my entire life, I've never had anybody pronounce my name right the first time. So it's spelled T-A-U. It really tongue ties people because they're like Tauriello. But the O, the A and the U are actually pronounced like an O. So there's not many of us out there. It's actually kind of cool having a last name like that. And there's a whole story behind it. I'll share with you at a later date. This episode has gone on long enough. But I'll definitely tell you about that story. My last name used to be even crazier, folks. My last name used to be Schwaziak, which that was crazy. So my dad went through a whole lot of trouble changing our name back to our real last name, the name it should have been. And I actually just got informed of the story by my uncle, my dad's brother, not that long ago. So I kind of didn't even know the backstory of our last name. But there's a few of us out there. We got some Toriellos all out there, all out in the world out there. And you probably would know I think it would be my great uncle, and my grandpa. They were famous artists. So Frank Toriello is a famous artist. You've probably seen his work. In fact, you've probably seen his work somewhere, in real life. He very, 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 popular artist, very famous artist. I think in the 60s and 70s, he was pretty popular, California. And there's a whole story to it. So, yeah, I will share the backstory of my last name. But again, if you guys need to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me at the StephenTorielloShow@gmail.com. And please share the show with your friends and family. Let them know this message. Let them know that we need to bridge the gap on this so that we can all coexist. Okay. And the only way we're going to coexist is if, we get these issues ironed out. Again, when you share the show with your friends and family, tell them they can find it on any platform. We're on YouTube now. We're on Rumble. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcast, every single podcast platform are out there. We're on TikTok. We're on Truth. We're on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I think I even got a locals account. what else do I got? We're pretty much everywhere. If you just Google my last name, it will pop up, and you guys just, you could listen to it however you want and tell your family or whoever you share with it, they can listen however they want. I'm going to have some more content coming out soon. I want to share this with you today so that you guys can have it this weekend. Extra long weekend, folks, for Memorial Day. And I want to actually do an episode. We're going to do some cool stuff that involves some pretty cool Medal of Honor recipient stories, which are pretty crazy. Some of these stories you are not going to believe. Some of these, just hard ass dudes, man, that just went out there. Like, God broke the mold when he made these guys. When you hear some of these stories, you're just like, dude, this sounds like an action-packed movie thriller. This sounds like an action movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, but it's not. It's these Medal of Honor recipients, man, real badasses. So that's what we're going to be doing. Probably, I'm definitely going to release it this weekend. Probably tomorrow. I'll get that laid out. And then, yeah, we're just going to have some fun. There's a ton of stuff that we need to talk about. Like I said, the news cycle is insane. So we're going to get to all of it, folks. And once again, I'm just like your average working middle class American with a microphone and a whole lot to say. And so we're going to be talking about all of it. Hopefully we can get to all of it. There's something crazy that pops up every single day. It's like some groundbreaking news. So this was all, I wanted to dedicate this show specifically for this message, and I don't want the message being lost in translation. So I want you guys to have a good day, have a great week, have a great weekend, enjoy Memorial Day, and God bless you, and God bless America. You guys have a good day. Bye-bye.